After my mother died, my uncle told everyone I pressured her into changing the will. They called me a manipulator. I was shunned. I found her journal in a box under her bed, every page defending me. I sent a copy to every relative, but the last page I saved for the family gathering. When I read it out loud, my uncle tried to interrupt. I raised my voice and said, "This is the part where she finally exposed. I'm Mark. I'm 38. I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I work at a small auto shop. Nothing fancy. I fix cars. I go home. I mind my business. Until this whole thing with my mom dying and my Uncle Dale accusing me of manipulating her, I never thought family could hate you without asking a single question. Mom was all I had. My dad bailed when I was a kid, and it was just us. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer about 3 years ago. It got bad. She lost her hair, dropped weight fast, had trouble eating. I stopped dating. I cut back on hours. I stayed with her, cleaned her, fed her, washed her clothes. I did everything. Her older brother, Dale? He called twice in 3 years. Showed up once. Brought her some cookies he didn't even bake. Left after 15 minutes. Then she died in February, and suddenly he was everywhere. At the funeral, talking to relatives like he was next of kin. Hugging people he hadn't seen in years. Crying fake tears. A week after the funeral, I get a call from my cousin Beth. I answer, thinking maybe she wants to talk about Mom. But she's cold. Her first words are, "Did you really make Aunt May change her will?" "What?" I ask. "What are you talking about?" "Uncle Dale told us you pressured her. That she wasn't in her right mind." I stood there frozen. "That's not true," I told her. "She went to a lawyer. She did it herself." Beth just said, "It doesn't look good, Mark." That was the beginning. Over the next few days, I noticed people pulling back. My texts went unanswered. Brenda, my mom's sister, was the only one still checking in, and even she said, "You should have told us if she changed the will." I was like, why would I? It was Mom's decision. 2 weeks later, I got served. Dale had hired a lawyer. He was trying to contest the will. Said my mom was too sick to know what she was doing. Said I manipulated her while she was weak. I remember standing in court, listening to him say, my sister was not of sound mind. She would never leave everything to one person unless someone influenced her. I couldn't even speak. I just stared at him. It wasn't even that much, her house, an old car, and some savings. But Dale acted like I'd stolen millions. The estate got frozen. Everything was held up. Meanwhile, I kept paying the property taxes, the electric bill, the water. I was living in a house people thought I didn't deserve. Then one night, while I was clearing out her bedroom, I found something. There was a shoebox under her bed. Inside it was a red hardcover journal. I opened it and saw her handwriting. The first entry was 6 months before she passed. It said, "Mark takes care of me better than any nurse. Dale hasn't even called." I kept reading, page after page. She wrote about doctor visits, how tired she was, how scared. But mostly, she wrote about me. How proud she was. How grateful. How angry she was at Dale. How she felt used. One entry said, "I went to the lawyer today. Mark doesn't even want anything, but I'm doing it. Dale won't get a penny. I've spent my life helping him. No more." I read every single page. Some of them were hard to get through. Her handwriting got shaky near the end. But she kept writing, all the way up until 2 weeks before she died. The last page hit me in the gut. She wrote, "If anyone ever says Mark did this for money, I hope they rot in hell. Dale is a snake. Mark deserves everything. I don't care who hates him for it." I sat there for an hour just staring at those words. The next morning, I made copies. I didn't edit anything. I didn't write a cover letter. I just sent the whole thing to everyone who had called me names. Everyone who ghosted me. Everyone who believed Dale. But I kept the original. Especially that last page. Brenda told me the family was planning a cookout at her place in July. "You should come," she said. "It might be good to talk." I said, "I'll be there." When the day came, I drove to Des Moines with the journal on the passenger seat. I didn't care about food. I didn't care about the small talk. I came for one thing. People acted polite when I walked in. A few avoided eye contact. Some gave fake smiles. Dale was near the grill, laughing like nothing ever happened. His wife was hanging on his arm. I wanted to throw up. I waited. I sat through the food, the games, the drinks. Then I stood up and held the journal in the air. "I have something to read," I said. "It's my mom's journal. The one she wrote after she got diagnosed." Silence. I started reading. Her words. The ones where she talked about how tired she was. How hurt she felt by Dale. How thankful she was for me. I read it loud. I didn't skip anything. Halfway through, Dale stood up. Okay, that's enough, he said loud. This isn't the time or place. I turned and said, this is the part where she finally exposed everything. He went pale. You're making a fool of yourself. I raised my voice. No, I'm making sure everyone knows what you did. You call me a manipulator. You lied. She wrote every word. I didn't force her. I didn't ask for anything. Then I read the last line. If anyone ever says Mark did this for money, I hope they rot in hell. Dale is a snake. Mark deserves everything. I don't care who hates him for it. Nobody moved. Dale looked like he wanted to fight, but he didn't say a word. Just stormed off. I looked around the yard. I didn't say another thing. I just left. After I read that last page and walked away from the cookout, I thought maybe that was it. That people would finally understand. That Dale would crawl back under his rock and the rest of the family would finally leave me alone. I was wrong. 3 days later, I came home from work and found my mailbox ripped off its post. Mail was scattered in the street. A few of the envelopes were torn open. I called the police, filed a report, but they couldn't do much. 2 days after that, I found the back window of my car smashed. Nothing was stolen, just broken, like someone wanted to send a message. That night, I saw Dale's car drive by real slow around 11 p.m., same old Navy Buick with the dented bumper. He didn't stop, just drove past, lights off, windows up. I called Brenda. He's not letting this go, I said. She sighed. He's embarrassed, Mark. That cookout. People saw him for what he is. You made him look like a liar. I didn't make him anything, I said. He did that himself. Next week, I got a letter from Dale's lawyer. He was suing me for emotional distress and claiming character defamation over the journal. I took it straight to Mom's old lawyer, Mr. Talbot. He was a quiet guy, probably in his late 60s. Used to be a judge, wore suspenders, and had a voice like gravel. He read the letter, then looked at me and said, he's got no case. But he wants to scare you. Waste your time. Your money. I don't have the money to fight this forever, I said. You won't need to, he said. I've dealt with men like Dale before. Let me handle it. I left the office, still shaking. Not because of the lawsuit, but because Dale wouldn't stop. He'd already poisoned half the family against me. Now he wanted to ruin me entirely. A week later, I found a voicemail on my phone. It was Dale, slurring his words, like he'd been drinking. You think you won, huh? He said. You think you're some hero? You're a joke, Mark. You always were. Your mom knew it too. She just didn't want to die alone. I saved the message. Didn't delete it. Didn't respond either. But I started writing things down. Every incident. Every voicemail. Every text. I started collecting everything, because I knew this wasn't over. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from Beth. My cousin. She said, I need to tell you something, but not over the phone. We met at a diner on the edge of town. She looked tired. Nervous. She said, I think Dale's planning something big. I just stared at her. What kind of big? He's trying to dig up something from your past. Something to use against you. Said he's going to make sure no one in this family ever trusts you again. I laughed. They already don't. She shook her head. No, this is worse. He said he knows someone at your old job. Someone who got fired. He's trying to get them to say you stole from the register back in 2019. That never happened, I said. I know, she said. But he doesn't care. He just wants to ruin you. I sat there, feeling the anger build up in my chest. He wasn't going to stop. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about pride. About control. Dale couldn't stand that a woman he thought he owned had left everything to the son who stayed instead of the brother who ran. I looked Beth dead in the eye and said, then it's time I stop playing nice. She nodded slowly. What are you going to do? I'm going to remind everyone who he really is. Because what Beth didn't know, and what Dale had probably forgotten, was that I wasn't the only one Mom had written about. There was a second journal, still in the house, still unopened, and I had a feeling it was about to change everything. The second journal was in a box I hadn't touched since Mom died. It was in the back of the closet, under some old photo albums and a stack of her winter coats. I had seen the box before, but figured it was just old papers or receipts. But now, after what Beth told me, I started thinking, what else did Mom know? I opened the box. Inside were old letters, some faded postcards, and at the very bottom, another journal. Same size as the first one, but this one had a blue cover. It looked older. Dusty. I opened the first page. Started this in 2017. Things with Dale are getting worse. I sat down on the floor and started reading. What I found inside made my stomach turn. Page after page of stories. About how Dale used to show up at her house asking for money. How he once got into her bank account without asking and withdrew over $2,000. How he tried to convince her to co-sign a loan for a second car lot he was trying to open. And when she said no, he screamed at her so loud the neighbors came over. One entry said, "Dale said if I don't help him, he'll tell people I'm losing my mind." He laughed about it. He said, "They'll believe me over you. You're just an old woman." I stopped reading. I had to. My hands were shaking. Everything started to make sense. This wasn't about the will. Dale had been trying to control Mom for years. The journal wasn't just about protecting me. It was a full-on record of emotional blackmail, financial threats, verbal abuse. She wrote about how scared she was to tell anyone. She was embarrassed. Said she didn't want to cause trouble in the family. I called Mr. Talbot the next morning. I found another journal, I told him. And this one's worse. He told me to bring it in. I sat in his office while he read through it. The deeper he got, the more serious he looked. Finally, he closed it and leaned back. "This isn't just useful for your case," he said. "This is evidence." "Evidence of what?" I asked. "Elder abuse. Coercion. If we take this to court, Dale could be in serious trouble. Depending on the state statutes, he might even be criminally liable." That was the first time I smiled in months. "Do it," I said. He nodded. "You're sure?" He tried to destroy me. I'm done playing defense. Within a week, Talbot filed a motion to submit the second journal as evidence. He also contacted the state attorney's office. He said it was up to them if they wanted to pursue charges, but the pressure was now on Dale, not me. That's when things got even uglier. Dale showed up at my house. He didn't knock. He banged on the door, shouting my name like a madman. I opened the door but didn't step outside. "You think you're clever?" he hissed. "You think you're going to ruin my life over some fake diary?" "She wrote it," I said calmly. "Every word. You don't know what you're messing with. She was your sister, Dale, and you treated her like garbage. You don't know the whole story," he shouted. "Oh, I do," I said. "And soon, everyone else will too." He got real quiet. Then he muttered, "You'll regret this." Before I could respond, he walked off, got into his car, peeled off down the street. A day later, someone broke into my garage. Nothing was taken, but the words "liar" were spray-painted across the side of my truck. Police came again. They wrote it up, but I knew who did it, and this time, I wasn't going to let it slide. That same afternoon, I met with Talbot again. "I want to press charges," I said. "For harassment, for property damage, for all of it." "We can," he said. "But first, we wait to hear back from the state." He looked down at the second journal. "Mark," he said, "this may end up being more than just a family fight. Are you ready for that?" I was ready the moment Dale started this war. Because this wasn't just about what he said. It was about what he did. To my mother. To me. To everyone he manipulated for years. And now? Now I had the truth. And I wasn't letting go. The call came 2 weeks later. It was from the state attorney's office. A woman named Michelle told me they were opening an investigation into Dale for elder abuse and financial exploitation. They had read the second journal, reviewed the timeline, and pulled bank records from the year Mom said he took money. It matched. Every date she wrote down, every transaction. Michelle said they were also looking into possible fraud. There were signs Dale had tried to take out a credit card in Mom's name back in 2018. It was declined, but he had still tried. They had enough to press charges. I sat there holding the phone like it was gold. For the first time in almost a year, I felt the weight lift off my chest. The next week, Dale was arrested. It was on a Tuesday. I didn't know until Brenda called me crying. "They took him out in cuffs," she said. "Right in front of his dealership." Customers saw. His wife was screaming. I didn't say much. I just listened. Then I hung up. That night, the local news picked up the story. It ran under the headline, "Local businessman arrested for exploiting dying sister, faces fraud and elder abuse charges." They didn't hold back. They mentioned the journals, the will, everything. My phone lit up with messages. Cousins who hadn't spoken to me in months. Old family friends. People from high school. Every one of them had something to say. "Mark, I'm so sorry. Can't believe you had to go through that. We were wrong. You were right. Even Beth texted, "If I'd known all this, I would have helped you from the start. I'm sorry, I didn't reply to most of them. I didn't feel like being anyone's redemption story." A month later, I got a letter from Dale's lawyer. He was dropping the lawsuit. Due to new developments, it said. No apology. No explanation. Just gone. Mr. Talbot looked at me across his desk and said, "You want to go after damages?" I thought about it, but then I shook my head. Let the courts deal with him. I've got what I need. And I did. Dale lost everything. His dealership shut down. His wife filed for divorce. His house went into foreclosure. He ended up taking a plea deal. 5 years probation, 2 years house arrest, $80,000 in restitution, and a permanent mark on his record for financial abuse of a dependent adult. The restitution money? It went straight to me. Every cent of what he took from my mother, plus court fees. I used it to fix up the house. Got new siding, replaced the roof, and turned Mom's old sewing room into an office. I hung both journals on the wall in glass frames, page by page. A reminder. But here's the thing. I didn't come out clean either. Through all this, I lost people. People I loved. People I thought had my back. And even though they came around in the end, I couldn't forget how fast they turned on me. One day Brenda asked me, "Are you going to forgive them?" I told her, "I don't think I can. Not all of them." Because the truth is, when things got bad, most of them didn't ask me what happened. They didn't offer help. They didn't check the facts. They just believed the louder voice. Dale screamed. I stayed quiet. And for a while, his lies won. But Mom knew. She wrote everything down. And in the end, her words did what I couldn't. They burned his whole house of lies to the ground. Now I live in her home, where I took care of her, where I watched her fade, where I watched her fight. And I see her handwriting on my wall every day. She's gone. But she made sure the truth stayed. And I made sure the man who tried to erase it paid.